Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. We are going to start our caucus and work session. Welcome to the Albany Common Council caucus and work session. Thursday, September 5th is our work session prior to our regular meeting. Mr. Jimenez, please call the roll.
Adams, Anane, Ballerin, Clark, Farrell,
Here.
Flynn, here. Frederick, Hoey,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Keegan,
Here.
Kimbrough,
Here.
Love, here. Robinson, Romero is absent, and Zamer is absent. That's 9 present. We're also joined by City Clerk Shaniqua Jackson, Deputy Corporation Counsel Robert McGee, Research Counsel Jake Iceland, Legislative Director Brian Jimenez, Violence Prevention Coordinator Ramisha Hill.
Okay, thank you. So jumping right into our agenda. First up, for meetings from a previous meeting, we'll be offering the August 19th of 2024 meeting minutes for approval. Let's moving on. Consideration of local laws. We'll have local law J by Ms. Keegan. It's a local law amending Article 3, Executive Branch Charter City. It's in relation to creating the Department of Engineering and the position of Commissioner of Department of Engineering and prescribing duties. That'll be a referral to the Council's General Services Committee. That's local law J of 2024. Next on to ordinances introduced. We'll have ordinance 269124 by myself. It's in relation to expanding and clarifying the honorary street namings legislation and process. That's going to be a referral to the Council's General Service Committee. The next ordinance introduced will be ordinance 279124 by Mr. Anani. It's an ordinance in relation to amending the USDO, and it's in relation to expanding the affordable housing initiative, incentive. That'll be a referral to the Council's Planning Committee. And next, on to our resolutions introduced. It's a resolution by Mr. Ballerin on behalf of Planning 939124R. It's a resolution of the Council reappointing Tina Lieberman as a member of the Sustainability Commission. That'll be a referral to Planning. And next, also by Mr. Ballerin, Resolution 949124R. It's a reappointment of Gabriela Cepeda Mora to the Sustainability Commission. Again, referred to Planning. And next, by Mr. Robinson, Resolution 959124R. It's a resolution reappointing Natisha Alexander as a member of the Commission on Human Rights. That's a referral to the Council's Human Rights Committee. And next, it's a resolution by Mr. Adams 9791-24R. It's a resolution of the council celebrating September 2nd, 2024 as Labor Day. Want to put everyone down as co-sponsors on that. Show of hands. Everyone okay with that? As a sponsor for Labor Day? Okay. All right. So then, next resolution by Ms. Romero, who is not with us this evening. Mr. Robinson, will you intro that for her? Thank you. It's resolution 9891-24R. It's a resolution of the council recognizing August 31st, 2024 as International Overdose Awareness Day and September 19th as New York's statewide Overdose Awareness Day. We'll be voting on that. Show of hands with members being co-sponsors. Thank you. Then next is a resolution by Mr. Hoey on behalf of public safety. It's resolution 9991-24R. It's a resolution of council appointing Milton Arroyo as a member of the Community Police Review Board. We have him here. Mr. Arroyo, do you mind just coming up and just quick intro like before? Yeah, over here, so folks at home can hear you. Just brief introduction, that's it.
Hello, I'm Milton Arroyo. Thank you for having me. Is that brief enough?
I actually knew you were going to do that, but give us a little something more.
I'm Milton Arroyo. I've been in Albany for about a year. When I retired in 2013 from the state police, I moved to Florida. I was living there for 10 years, and I didn't like it anymore. I miss New York, pizza, Chinese food, and all the other stuff. I was a Marine before I was a state trooper. In Florida, I was a deputy sheriff. I have a daughter. She's 33. She's an assistant district attorney down in Orange County, New York. She graduated from Albany Law. I'm divorced. My ex-wife was a New York City cop. Her husband is also a cop. They're both retired. I have a dog. That's about it. Any questions?
No, anyone have any questions?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Arroyo.
Thank you.
So we'll be voting on that. And then next, okay, that was Mr. Arroyo. By Mr. Anani, it's resolution 191-24. It's a resolution of the council appointing Diana Bowles as a member of the Commission on Monuments and Public Art. Ms. Bowles is here. Can you just step up? Same idea, just a brief to the table. Yeah. Just to tell us a little bit about yourself, and members may or may not ask the questions.
Sure. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Diana Bowles. I was born and raised here in Albany, New York, went to Albany High, graduated from Russell Sage College with a degree in computer science, stayed after college. I'm now beginning my master's degree at George Washington University. A little about my professional background. I have about more than 10 to 15 years of experience as a information technology professional and a museum educator. And also too, I'm involved in several local nonprofits that benefit art and local history. And when the opportunity for this commission, this entity was proposed, even though I know like the removal of Philip Schuyler was the catalyst for this, this is an entity that as a local historian professional, we really need this. Because it's a labor of love and it's a chore to collect local artifacts. I would say like it's decentralized, and if we have, I would say like something that is like a resource that the community and professionals like me have, that will help us do our job in like promoting like real, valid, verified information and facts to the public about the history of Albany. Because right now, the history of Albany, if you ask anyone, they'll probably just say like the Dutch and tulips. But a lot has happened since 1797, and I think we need to reflect that.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
No questions? Okay, all right. Okay, all right, thank you, Ms. Bowles. We'll be voting on that resolution. Okay, and last but not least, is Resolution 101-9124R by Mr. Anani. It's a resolution of the council recognizing the life and legacy of Dr. Alice Green and the impact she left on the city of Albany. We're all co-sponsors on that. Show of hands. Yeah, and so that's the last of the resolutions on the agenda. Did I miss? Mr. Hoey.
Yes, we had the Suicide Awareness Month, and I think, did you pull
Did I
that,
pass
or did
it?
you skip over it?
Yeah, that's mine. Did I skip that?
I
did. No, I did skip it. Thank you. In the middle in there. Resolution by myself. It's a resolution 96-91-24R, resolution of the Common Council recognizing September as Suicide Awareness Month in the city of Albany. Co-sponsors? Everyone? You good with that? Okay. Now I'm done with the agenda, and we'll be voting on that. Anyone have anything? Mr. Hoey.
Yeah, I had some neighbors ask me, and I'm just wondering if any of the other council members have the tax bills for the school district gone out? Because we haven't gotten it up in the 15th ward. I don't know if other wards have gotten it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Member in the gallery saying yes. I haven't received mine, so.
Okay.
Ms. Keegan?
Thank you. I know staff has sent out several emails to you guys, and I don't believe that anybody has raised their hand to volunteer to participate in the ad hoc committee on workforce ethics. So I just wanted to, once again, bring that to your attention, because I don't want the issue to languish. So anybody who is interested, please let staff know.
Right, so, okay, and to that point, Mr. Johnson, you expressed an interest in being on the workforce ad hoc committee? You did? No, right, yeah, no, okay, so I'm just trying to, because what we're going to do is, and since we didn't get anyone, Mr. Adams, you got a little time to help out with this committee? Okay, so we'll start with 3. We may expand it, but at this point, Ms. Keegan, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Adams, you are the committee, okay? And anything else? If not, we usually have this little pause prior to starting up our regular meeting. Council President's not going to be with us, so I'll be filling in for him this evening. Yeah, so we'll take a quick break before we get started. All right, 7 o'clock. We're going to get started now. Members, please take your seats. Okay, everyone, welcome to the Thursday, September 5th, 2024 meeting of the Albany Common Council. Mr. Jimenez, please call the roll.
You want? I'm supposed to do it.
Excuse me, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Adams.
Present.
Anani. Vallorin. Clark.
Present.
Farrell. Here. Flynn.
Present.
Frederick. Here. Hoey.
Here.
Johnson. Keegan.
Here.
Kimbrough.
Here.
Love. Here. Robinson.
Here.
Romero. Zamer. 13 present, 2 absent.
Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Please stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, we'll begin our meeting with our public comment period. Public comment period is where attendees can speak for 5 minutes about any topic they wish. When you take the mic, we need your name and address. And in speaking, the buttons on, the lights on the indicator there, yellow is 1 minute and red is stop. Okay, so with that, will you call our first?
Bebin Francis.
Also, I'd like to indicate or put out there that during this portion of the meeting, members can't respond. This isn't meant to be a back and forth. We're receiving public comment from the public. Should members choose to speak on it, they'll do so later in the meeting. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Bevan Francis. I live at 57 Garden Street here in Albany. I'm a tenant organizer with the United Tenants of Albany, and I'm a leader with the Poor People's Campaign, Albany's Homeless Union. I am a person who has been directly impacted by homelessness. In June 2024, the Supreme Court overturned the Grants Pass versus Johnson ruling. The court ruled that cities can punish unhoused people for sleeping in public, even if they have nowhere else to go. The Supreme Court ruled that this is not cruel and unusual punishment. This is the most cruel and unusual punishment that can be inflicted on people experiencing homelessness. Since this ruling, we have seen nationwide initiatives criminalizing homelessness. In July, California Governor Gavin Newsom stood in front of a cleared homeless encampment and vowed to start taking state funding away from cities and counties that are not clearing encampments. We are also seeing increased violence against the unhoused. In July of 2024, Columbus, Ohio police officers shot and killed a homeless man named Sam Sharp. I am saddened to see Albany join in on the initiative to criminalize homelessness and poverty. Albany Ordinance 2272-24 will impose fines ranging from $100 to $300, community service, and/or incarceration for up to 15 days if a person panhandles outside the confusing parameters enforced. People who are impoverished and are homeless will likely be unable to pay fines, which will lead to the possibility of incarceration. There are so many negative impacts to be incarcerated, even for 15 days. In 15 days of incarceration, people are at risk of losing connection to mental health and substance use resources and have an increased risk of returning to substance use. Everybody here just supported Overdose Awareness Day. I want to keep that in mind. They will be isolated from their community support systems and risk the worsening of mental health and physical health conditions. Upon release, there is a 12 times higher risk of overdose. And at the end of 15 days of incarceration, they will still be impoverished and homeless. Penalties have no positive outcome for the people they are imposed on. The problem is not homelessness or panhandling. The problems are rent is too high and services are underfunded. We need rent control. We need funding for more adequate services. The problem is the lack of access to mental health and substance abuse services. We need mental health peer response units, not police responses to the unhoused in crisis. We need overdose prevention centers that save lives and connect participants to resources and services. The problem is the need for an increased distribution of resources from the Department of Social Services. We need fewer barriers to these services and shelters. We need more shelters and service providers to staff them. We need the council to be in conversation with service providers on how to address the issue of homelessness. Instead, we are given ordinances that seek to criminalize the homeless and the impoverished. I implore the council to look at the humanity of those affected by Ordinance 2272-24. I call on you to bring forth solutions that will benefit them and the whole of the community. We need housing, not handcuffs. We need to fight poverty, not the poor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jazz R, I believe the name is. Jason.
Greetings and salutations, brothers and sisters. I thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts with you. My name is Jason R., now a resident of 147 Sherman Street. I grew up and have lived in multiple locations in multiple states over my nearly 5 decades of existence. No longer able to work as a union pipe fitter for NASA, I've survived somehow on a bare minimum disability income for the last 10 years, 6 of which I have been homeless. Many years ago, I left a bad relationship to return to a community I mostly grew up in, New Smyrna Beach in Edgewater, Florida, where I witnessed and experienced some very unnecessary things from overzealous bullies enforcing their beliefs of the law. Now, because of my economic situation, I've struggled to find basic human necessities. Eventually, I was able to start working out of the abysmal situation of homelessness. Despite opposition from many individuals in my community, I started seeking to restore my life. My experience pertaining to the inadequate compassion, lack of empathy, and total disregard of human decency could have been avoided with proper education services for local law enforcement agencies, fire departments, paramedic, and medical staff in various areas of public health would have been nice. Their actions caused the prospect of continued survival nearly impossible. Yet I made it back to Albany alive. There's better hope here for now. I ended up in having to deal with struggling for my basic needs again. I was able to utilize my knowledge and past experience to ask for what is available for me. After 2.5 months of being housed at the city mission, I then roamed around for a month barely sleeping, no safe place to sleep. I kept walking until at the end of my walkabout, I was given the privilege of signing a lease. Now, due to the help of a few agencies and local compassionate humans, I was able to start navigating the start of the process of rebuilding my life, one where I can become a better version of myself. By working towards an education, I'll achieve stability and overcome my dependence on others. I'm grateful for the people on the streets for showing me how to survive. I met some amazing people and now have many interesting stories to share that I've heard and witnessed. I have my own personal opinions on panhandling. I've seen the horrors of law enforcement abuse the human rights, disposing of individuals' property, their encampments, and their ability to survive and have a safe place to stay. It's wrong of me to assume about someone's situation. We all have different perspectives and situations that lead us to make decisions based on our needs and availability to do something about it. We all just want to love and to live in harmony with others. Major difference between me and the person passing out after begging for the money is I found another way. Many times an individual doesn't have the proper information or mental capacity to ask for help in finding the best solution for their situation. So many people feel forced to ask for money, risking their lives and safety begging for help, your money. So some find it is all there is left for them to do to get through the day. How many people hearing my voice have experienced hunger that lasts long enough for you to become scared that you would never again have a healthy meal or a safe place to sleep and tend to your hygiene and health care, and then just as be denied access to help and then persecuted for asking? How many of you will ever know what happens when you are hungry without a way to eat unless you beg? Bet none of you will eat at the city mission for 3 meals a day for a week or sleep there for a week. It's full and winter is coming. I can't condone or condemn any human being for doing what they have to do to survive. Help us help them find their way back where they belong, safely out of the abyss. Productive members of society, please stop terrorizing us because we are poor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Katrina Alexander.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Katrina Alexander. I reside at 31 Beverly Ave. I would like to speak to you on behalf of Second Chance for Adults, Inc. I would like to say thank you to the City of Albany, the entire City Council, for the support and hospitality that you've shown for the Jamel M. Tarver Community Field Day that took place August the 23rd through the 25th. And most of all, I would like to say thank you to DGS for their patient, hard work, and support. They've shown tremendous teamwork the whole entire weekend. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Joseph Paparone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Reverend Joe Paparone. I'm a resident of Albany in Alfredo's district up by the high school. I'm an organizer with the New York State Poor People's Campaign and with the newly formed Albany chapter of the National Union of the Homeless, a few of our members that you've heard from already. And there is a war on the poor, y'all. You've heard me say this before. And there's a lot of causes to it. We know it's complex. We know there's no simple solution to any of this. That has to do with mental health and all physical health care as well. Every aspect of health care is tied in with this. Has to do with work opportunities. Has to do with substance use and abuse. Certainly, housing shortage, right? There's just not enough shelter space for folks. There's just not enough housing, and the housing that exists, the rent is too high, and people have struggles getting food, the food they need to survive. And all of that contributes, and it shows up when we walk around town and we see visible poverty, folks out on the streets struggling. And I gotta say, it drives me nuts too. I don't like it. I don't like it when I'm driving into the city and somebody runs up to my car door. I don't enjoy that. I don't think anybody does. But we've gotta get to the root causes of these problems. And policing just ain't gonna do it. Going after folks, further criminalizing, what is called aggressive panhandling, that stuff is already criminalized. You're not allowed to harass folks. You're not allowed to harass people. But as long as there's poverty, as long as there's housing insecurity and food insecurity, people are going to be doing what they need to do to survive. And so how can we together figure out real solutions to this? I want to talk and just give a little bit of perspective on violence, Because I think that's where a lot of the root of this is, too, and where it comes from when people want to go out to restaurants and spend time in the city, and they get scared, you know? And everybody has a right to be safe, absolutely. But that is different than everyone having the right to feel safe. Because our feelings are clouded by our implicit biases, by racism and white supremacy, by patriarchy, all the different isms, right? And so we got to take people's feelings seriously, but we also have to be serious about what really makes for safe communities, right? And more policing isn't going to make anybody safer. It's just going to push the most vulnerable people out of our community rather than genuinely help them. And so when we talk about violence, there's a tragic school shooting yesterday in Georgia, horrible. It's so frustrating that this is just doesn't even feel like news anymore. But maybe you caught earlier this week, there was a shooting in Chicago. 4 folks sleeping on the train were executed, right? We got to be asking questions of why were they sleeping on the train, right? These are the same folks. This morning at our homeless union meeting, I talked to 3 different people who told me their stories of violence and harassment that they are facing being out on the street. Folks who are homeless, who are panhandling, are suffering violence. And when they go to the cops, they're not taken seriously. When they go to the cops, there's not that much recourse. They don't have an address. They lost all their stuff, right? They're just struggling to get by. And so we gotta, if we're really serious about building a city that is genuinely safe for everybody, that's gonna bring us to these root causes. That's gonna bring us to a different set of solutions than more policing. And I think if you talk to our county sheriff, who knows that more policing isn't a problem, he opened a whole wing of his jail to try and provide services, to try a different approach. I think if you talk to our likely incoming district attorney, this is not what he wants to prioritize. He doesn't want to be giving tickets to homeless folks and prosecuting that stuff, dealing with that in the courts. He wants to get to the real root issues of violence in our community, which is very real. So there's a group of us working together on this. And we actually encourage you all to join with us. Let's collaborate on this. There are some things the city can do. There are some things that you can't do. And we can organize and go to our friends at the county legislature at. And there are some things that we need to come to the state. And some things we need to talk to the governor about. Right? But we can do that together because we all care about this city. And we all care about being safe in this city. And we all care about addressing these problems. This crisis is not going away. It is a national and global crisis of housing insecurity and food insecurity. It's gonna get worse. And so let's do the right thing and approach this in the way we need to. I can just share very briefly some of the solutions that our small burgeoning coalition is talking about and discussing is reforming DSS. It's miserable to go through there. You know, if you've ever accompanied someone, if you've ever tried to walk with somebody to get the benefits that they are entitled to, it's brutal, right? And nobody gets out of that system unscathed because it's not designed to actually help folks. It's designed to cut people off. And I know that's a county thing, but we could use your help in advocating around that and bringing that to the county and figuring that out. We know we need more housing, and there's some state legislation we can do about that. There's some things that this council has already done. And there's going to be some new ideas about how we can expand housing, affordable housing, genuinely affordable housing for the poor in our community, and then further work opportunities. We know that's real. A member of our union has been struggling to find work for a year. He just got a job. We're so excited for him, and he's living at the mission. So what that means is when he works second shift, he gets to go back to the mission, sleep for a couple hours, and then he's out on the street trying to figure out how he can rest up just a little bit before he has to go back to work. That's no way to live, right? That's where all these things come together. So I know you all care about the right stuff, but we're getting organized too. I'm really excited about this growing homeless union. And so we say, as my friend said before, housing, not handcuffs, homeless, not helpless. You only get what you're organized to take. Fight poverty, not the poor. I hope you'll join us in that endeavor. Thank you.
Gabriel Silva.
everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Gabriel Silva. I live here in Albany, and I'm on the board of United Tenants of Albany. And I just want to say, I know that we all know that this ordinance that we've been talking about is not on the agenda tonight, but we just feel so strongly about it that we wanted to preempt the ordinance and come here today to speak about it. I also want to start off by acknowledging that a lot of you have been receiving a lot of complaints from a lot of people for panhandling and solicitations, people who don't feel safe. I hear that. But something I want to recommend to you all is, like Joe was saying, some of this is not on you, some of this is on the county. And so just one recommendation before I go into the rest of my speech is, next time you have somebody reaching out to you complaining about some of these things, I implore you to help connect that person to their county representative as well, so they're hearing some of these same complaints that you are, so we can get the county to join us in our effort to really solve this issue. So the ordinance I'm talking about today is 227224, the anti-panhandling ordinance. And fundamentally, as others have said much more eloquently than I can, this is fundamentally a poverty homelessness issue. It's not just that people are asking for money, it's that people are having to ask for money and they don't have any other recourses. Historically, something we can say for a fact, after decades of this country and even the city dealing with homelessness, a lesson that we've learned painfully is that imprisonment and punitive measures simply don't work. If we really care about this issue, we've noticed that they just don't get us the results that we want to see. They really only exacerbate the issue. Like others have pointed out, this is gonna fine people who don't have any money, and it's gonna put people in jail who can't afford to go there because they might lose access to other services. This really just puts everybody involved into a cycle where they can't get out of, and the problem is just gonna continue growing. We've seen homelessness almost double recently, and this is indicative of how bad the issue has gotten. We have a vacancy study that's going on right now, and if this vacancy study ends up showing that we have a bigger than 5% vacancy rate, I think that begs the question, then why are rents so high? If this is telling us that the supply is there, then there's something fundamentally wrong with the system, and it falls on this common council and on the county to do something about the issue. So what we need, if the city ends up not opting into the ETPA protections that would come out of that vacancy study showing a lower than 5% vacancy rate, then we have to, we ask that you work with us, with members of the community, with UTA, and with other organizations to find a solution to this issue that isn't putting people in jail. Like others have said, housing, not handcuffs. So again, I recommend next time people reach out to you, we could use your help in getting the county to mobilize some of their money to try and solve this homelessness issue in the city of Albany. It's really not a simple, there is no simple solution. It's not an easy problem for us to solve. And this ordinance that has been proposed, unfortunately, is too simple for this problem, and it's not going to fix it. It sounds like something that might work, that people might want to hear happening. It's something that you can tell your constituents you've done something, but if the problem just gets worse, then you're not going to stop hearing from your constituents about it, and we're going to continue having people suffering in our cities. And I moved to Albany back in 2020, and something that really struck me about the city is I got the sense that we really care for each other in our communities. I think a lot of other cities could learn from the people that I've met in the city who are working to protect each other. So I implore you to join us in helping to protect people, and please don't consider more punitive measures like Ordinance 227224, and help us find the right solution so we can get people the housing, the help, and the support that they need. And with that, thank you again for your time.
Thank you. That was our last speaker for this evening, so our public comment is over. Moving on to approval of minutes from a previous meeting. Ms. Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer the minutes from August 19th, 2024 for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are passed. Okay. Next on to consideration of local laws. Ms. Keegan.
I noticed local law J of 2024 and ask for its introduction.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please read the local law.
A local law amending Article 3, Executive Branch of the Charter of the City of Albany and various provisions of the Code of the City of Albany in relation to the creation of the Department of Engineering and position of Commissioner of the Department of Engineering and prescribing duties thereof.
Ms. Farrell.
That will go to General Services.
Thank you. Okay. Next on to reports of standing committees. Seeing none, we'll move on to ordinances introduced. Ms. Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Councilmember Kimbrough, I offer ordinance 269124 and ask for its introduction.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance. An ordinance amending Article 2A, honorary street namings of the Charter of Chapter 323, Streets and Sidewalks of the Code of the City of Albany in relation to expanding and clarifying honorary street naming by elected officials, excuse me.
Thank you. Ms. Farrell.
That will go to General Services.
Okay, thank you. Next ordinance, Mr. Anani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice ordinance 27.9124 and ask for its introduction.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance amending Chapter 375, Unified Sustainable Development Ordinance of the Code of the City of Albany in relation to expanding the affordable housing incentive.
Thank you. Ms. Farrell.
That will go to Planning.
Thank you. Moving on to resolutions introduced. Mr. Ballerin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for introduction of Resolution 939124R.
Thank you, Mr. Ballerin. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
A resolution of the Common Council reappointing Tina Lieberman as a member of the Sustainable Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. Thank you.
That will go to Planning.
Thank you. Mr. Ballerin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for the introduction of Resolution 949124R.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
A resolution of the Common Council reappointing Gabriela Sabata Mora as a member of the Sustainability Commission.
Ms. Farrell.
That will go to Planning.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. And that is ordinance Resolution 95.91.24R and asks for its introduction.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
A resolution of the Common Council reappointing Natisha M. Alexander as a member of the Commission on Human Rights.
Thank you. Ms. Farrell.
That will go to Human Rights, Human Resources.
Thank you. All right, back to you, Ms. Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Councilmember Kimbrough, I notice Resolution 969124R and ask for its introduction and passage.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
A resolution of the Common Council recognizing September as Suicide Awareness Month in the City of Albany.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, I put something together that I wanted to read since it's mine. Suicide is a silent crisis affecting millions of individuals across the country. It's not just a national issue, but one that impacts families and communities right here in Albany. The stigma surrounding mental health often discourages people from seeking help, leaving them feeling isolated and without hope. We need to be their voice and advocate for the resources and support they deserve. The resolution we're discussing now recognizes that suicide is preventable, and as a city, we have a responsibility to provide access to mental health resources, raise awareness, and ensure individuals know they are not alone in their struggles. This is not just about statistics, it's about saving lives. Every person lost to suicide leaves loved ones behind who carry the weight of that loss for a lifetime. This resolution is a step toward creating a city where residents feel supported and connected, where mental health is prioritized, and where we actively work to prevent the tragedy of suicide. Together we can promote understanding, educate our community, and most importantly, offer hope to those who need it most. So with that being said, please, we can do a voice vote. We're all co-sponsors on this. So with that, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. The resolution passes. All right, Mr. Adams.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. President Pro Temp. I'd like to read in Resolution 9791 24R and ask for its introduction and read passage.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
A resolution of the Common Council celebrating September 2nd, 2024 as Labor Day.
Any discussion? Mr. Adams.
Excuse me. In honor of Labor Day, just wanted to again thank the many workers here in the city, here in the area, for their commitment, dedication to providing services to everyone. And hopefully everyone had a great Labor Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Any further discussion? Ms. Keegan.
I feel like I should take one for the team as the person who works for organized labor and is an executive board member for a labor union and also is a union member. Labor Day is not just about recognizing the work that is performed by our city employees and for all those who labor. It is a time in this country when we recognize the work, the hard-fought work of organized labor and the impact that organized labor has had on our society. Everything from child labor laws to minimum wage to the 5-day work week to overtime are all here because of the work and the efforts that were put forth by labor unions. And the fun fact for the United States is that we celebrate Labor Day in September in order to remove our unions from the international labor movement. We are the only country that does not recognize Labor Day on May Day. And I think that's very important to recognize this evening in conjunction with the resolution. So thank your unions for all of the benefits that you have as a working person. That is the point and the purpose of Labor Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keegan. Any further discussion? Seeing none? We're all co-sponsors, the voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Resolution passes. Thank you. Moving on, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice Resolution 9891.24R on behalf of Councilwoman Romero and ask for its passage.
Thank you. Please read the resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution of the Common Council recognizing August 31st, 2024 as International Overdose Awareness Day and September 19th as New York's statewide Overdose Awareness Day.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution reminds us that drug overdoses is not only a domestic issue, but it extends beyond borders and impacts lives on a global scale. This day is to remember those who we lost to overdose, support those who are struggling with addiction, and break the stigma surrounding this devastating issue. Addiction affects millions, and too often it ends in tragedy. But overdose is preventable, and we must raise awareness, spread compassion, and create a call to action. We must push for better access to treatment, support harm reduction efforts, and ensure that no one suffers in silence. So we honor those who we lost by committing to change, fighting for a future where every life is valued. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we're all co-sponsors, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, resolution passes. Next, Mr. Hoey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice Resolution 99, 91, 24R, and ask for its passage via a roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
A resolution of the Common Council appointing Milton Manuel Arroyo as a member of the Community Police Review Board.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Hoey.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Milton actually, well, I'll take a step back. As the council knows that we were looking to fill a violence prevention task force, and also the CPRB, we had a vacancy come up in June. We were going through the resumes, and Milton's had applied as a violence prevention task force member, and when we looked at his resume, it was just, we really need somebody like this on the CPRB. And our staff reached out to him, explained, this position was open, and he graciously applied for it. He went through interviews, and he was here tonight during our caucus, and we're very lucky to have somebody of this caliber, applying and willing to be a member of the CPRB. And I hope my fellow members will vote affirmatively for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey. Any further discussion? Good to see. Ms. Frederick?
I just want to echo the sentiments of Councilmember Hoey. I had the pleasure of sitting in on Milton's interviews, and I'm very grateful that he's willing to serve our city in this way. He brings a wealth of experience, and he's eager to contribute and bring new and fresh ideas. So thank you in advance for your dedication and your time and your commitment to making our city a better place.
Thank you. All right. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Adams.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Anani.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Valorant.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Clark.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Farrell.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Flynn.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Frederick.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Hoey.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Keegan.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Kimbrough.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Love.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Robinson. Robinson.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
13 in the affirmative.
Okay, the motion passes. Welcome, Mr. Arroyo. Okay, next on to Mr. Anani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice Resolution 101.91.24R and ask for its passage on a roll call. There are intro and passage.
Point of clarification.
Which, did you say 100 or 101?
101.91.24R.
100.
100, okay.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Please read the resolution.
A resolution of the Common Council appointing Diana Bowles as a member of the Commission on Monuments and Public Arts.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Anani?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. On August 20th, 2024, Albany lost, am I reading it wrong?
The appointment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The Parks and Recreation Committee met, and we interviewed Diana Bowes, who really excelled during the interview, talked about her vision for the committee, but also talked about the importance of making sure that when it comes to public arts, that those who have been forgotten names are also part of the forefront. This is a commission that we put together as a city to really look at monuments and art in our city, and she was a wonderful candidate and moved out of committee with a positive support. So I urge my colleagues to show support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Adams.
Mr. Okay.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Okay. Anani. Yes. Valorant.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Clark.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Farrell.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Flynn.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Frederick.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Hoey.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Keegan.
Yes, co-sponsor.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kimbrough.
Yes, co-sponsor, please.
Love. Robinson.
Yes, co-sponsor.
13 in the affirmative.
Okay, welcome, Ms. Bowles.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Thank you for being willing to serve. Okay, now, Mr. Anani again.
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice Resolution 101.91, 24R, and ask for its intro and passage on the roll call thereon.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
A resolution of the Albany Common Council recognizing the life and legacy of Dr. Alice Green and the impact she left on the city of Albany.
Thank you. Discussion, Mr. You want to go, Mr. Anani?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you
thank you,
have
Mr. President. On August 20th, 2024, Albany lost a legendary civil rights advocate in our city, and that is the legendary Alex Green. Alex Green was a tireless advocate for communities of color, low-income individuals for decades. Founding and leading the Center for Law and Justice in Albany South End, she confronted discrimination and economic inequalities head-on. Dr. Green leaves a legacy of ensuring that the struggle for equality continues in our city and beyond. Dr. Alex Green dedicated her life to eradicating systemic racism. She led for decades in Albany's historical Red Line neighborhoods, all in an effort to help uplift the communities that were often left behind. Alex Green also worked with our mayor and also council and the police department and various local organizations to help Albany become the only third city in the nation to create a law enforcement assistant diversion program. One of the many efforts to enhance community policing and a model for the 21st century policing strategies. It is with our deepest condolence to the family. And, you know, on a personal note, a couple of months ago, I was invited to sit on the panel with Dr. Alex Green. And I'll tell you, I was nervous. Because to just look at her history, her background on issues of redlining and diversity and equality. And I remember the moderator asking questions about, you know, what the council was doing. Of course, I always want to brag about the council, talking about, you know, good cause eviction, increasing the minimum wage, inclusionary zoning, some of the police reforms work that we have done. And, you know, the crowd was really excited to hear all those things that the council have done. And I remember I turned to Alex Green, and, you know, the moderator called him Alex Green, and she said, council members, you know, thank you for everything that you guys are doing, but make sure that you also talk about reparations. And the whole room just got quiet, and I just remember the moderator, just, you know, calling my name again to kind of respond, like, hey, Councilman, what do you think? And, you know, I said, you know, Dr. Alex Green is right. We need to look at reparations. And I don't think the moderator knew that Alex Green was actually a mentor of mine, somebody, a role model that I look up to. But Alex Green has always been right when it comes to issues of criminal justice reform, police reforms, affordable housing, economic and educational opportunity for all. She has always been right, and I really believe that the city of Albany has lost a legendary advocate in our community. And I know that there are events that are going to be planned for her, but I hope that the city really recognize this legendary individual that we have lost in our city. Whether we look at street renaming, whether we look at a statue for our community, because many of our community members really look up to Dr. Alex Green. So I see that everyone's supporting. I just want to say Dr. Alex Green will be missed. Dr. Alex Green will be missed, but her legacy needs to be carried on through this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nani. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. It's hard to follow up. Councilman Anani said a lot, but just growing up in this city, and you hear about people with their backs against the walls, it was always a name that was mentioned, Dr. Alice Green. You know, as I said at her memorial, the Second Ward was lucky because a lot of the work that she did in the city was housed in the Second Ward. So, you know, in a time where we lost such a great person, I think the value of the properties that she touched is going to be a lot of stories to tell. And I just think that we all know about the public Dr. Alice Green, but a lot of people are going to learn about, you know, the private Dr. Alice Green. She did a lot for this city. And, you know, we've lost some people from our community that did a tremendous amount of work. And we, I think, should figure out a way to pay tribute to some of these people and not in just a normal way that we have been recognizing people. The work that she did, she changed people's lives. Like I said, she gave people hope that didn't have hope. And when you can have a presence like that, that's important, because a lot of times it's people that don't, you know, it's cities that don't have a Dr. Alice Green. And we know, you know, what happens when you don't have people champion human rights, you know, the simple basic necessities of life. So I'm hoping, as Councilman said, that we can figure out how to properly pay tribute to someone that made a lot of sacrifices of their own personal time and, you know, their energy. And, you know, I'm gonna just close, and my aunt was telling me a story. Her and Alice Green were young people out there, and I forget how she said it, but you know, they gave them one last command that, you know, you're gonna go to jail if you don't stop what you're doing. And the next time she said she talked to Dr. Green, Dr. Green said, I was yelling whatever the chant they were yelling. She was in handcuffs in the jail cell, still yelling it. And my aunt said that she was smart enough to back up. She said she realized at that point that she didn't have what Alice had, what Dr. Green had. And, you know, my message or my wish is going to be, who's going to fill those shoes? Because she left some work. She didn't touch everything that she wanted to. And I'm just happy that, you know, in times where others wouldn't take her call, I was able to take that call and try to assist her. So, you know, someone that was so instrumental in trying to make a difference, I'm glad that, you know, I had a chance to rub elbows from her and learn. And she said 10 people can meet and they leave that meeting and they bring 10 people to the next meeting. That's how you build a community. So let's try to take that 10 to get 10 and continue her work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. we are all co-sponsors on it, so we'll do this by voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the resolution passes. With that, we're at the end of our agenda, and we're into our miscellaneous and unfinished business. Anyone want to be recognized? Because I want to just make a comment about our ad hoc committee on ethics and workforce culture. We've designated Ms. Keegan as the chair and Mr. Johnson and Mr. Adams as members of that ad hoc committee. It's the Committee on Ethics and Workforce Culture. So, all right. Anything further?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, meeting adjourned.